I turned off news altogether.
I hate to say it, but I don't trust much of anything.
It's the rage bait.
It feels like it's trying to divide people.
If we got clear facts, maybe we could calm down a little.
NBC News brings you clear reporting. Let's meet at the facts. Let's move forward from there. NBC News, reporting for America.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Carvana makes car selling fast and easy from start to finish. Enter your license plate or VIN and get a real offer in seconds, down to the penny. If you accept, Carvana will come pick up your car from your driveway. Or you can drop it off at one of our car vending machines. Either way, you get paid instantly. It's fast, transparent, and 100% online. Car selling that saves your time. That's Carvana.
Carvana.
Pickup fees may apply.
This is a real good story about Bronx and his dad, Ryan, real United Airlines customers.
We were returning home, and one of the flight attendants asked Bronx if he wanted to see the flight deck and meet Captain Andrew.
I got to sit in the driver's seat.
I grew up in an aviation family, and seeing Bronx kind of reminded me of myself when I was that age.
That's Andrew, a real United pilot.
These small interactions can shape a kid's future.
It felt like I was the captain.
Allowing my son to see the flight deck will stick with us forever.
That's how good leads the way.
Celaena Sardothien stands before Queen Maeve and realizes just how small she is in the shadow of the ancient Fae. Maeve demands she embraces her birthright as Aelin Galathinius, but Celaena refuses to resurrect the girl she once was. In Doranel's cold hierarchy, half-bloods are barely tolerated, and Maeve makes it clear that Celaena's worth must be proven. Tasked to master her fire or be cast aside, Celaena begins her brutal training under Rowan Whitethorn, a partnership born of resentment, sharpened by pride, and sealed with a well-aimed punch. Back in Rifthold, Chaol grows suspicious of General Adian Ashriver, whose reckless charm hides dangerous loyalties, while Dorian seeks solace in the quiet healer, Sorsha. And in the mountains, Manon Blackbeak and her 13 circle like predators ready to claim wyverns and the skies that once belonged to them. But as Celaena's powers begin to stir, so too does the darkness she's long tried to bury. Hey there, we're BookTok for BookTok with Jac and Amy, your book besties who take the novels you love seriously. This is Jac.
And I'm Amy, and we bring the tools of literary analysis to the women-written novels lighting up BookTok, from romance to romantasy. Think of it as your favorite fandom books treated with the same respect you'd give a classic in a literature class, just with more humor and less homework.
And a lot more cursing. Each season, we deep dive into one book, breaking down themes, imagery, and character motivations. Together, we combine our 13 years of literary academic training with our fandom love to help you see your favorite books in a whole new way. We also analyze the story through 2 different literary lenses, giving you more than one way to look at the text.
This week, we're discussing chapters 8 through 13 of Sarah J. Maas's third novel in the Throne of Glass series, Heir of Fire.
For a complete list of episodes and chapter breakdowns, please be sure to check out our Instagram at the handle BookTok for BookTok.
Before we dive in, let's talk about Spilt. Spoilers, perspective and interpretation, language, and themes.
Spoilers. This episode covers Heir of Fire with full context from the first 3 books, Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire. If you haven't read those books, this is your only spoiler warning. Anything beyond Heir of Fire and other SJM books will be saved for our Breadcrumbs and Broomsticks episode that airs this Thursday.
Perspective and interpretation. These are just our takes, aka our personal readings of the text. We don't speak for Sarah J. Maas, and we know you'll have your own interpretations too. We love hearing them, so please share away.
We use explicit language and we can't help ourselves, so keep your headphones in and the kids away. Or don't. Whatever. They're going to hear it anyway.
Expose them early. That's fine too. Themes. We will discuss topics like sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death. We do our best to flag heavier moments where we can, but listener discretion is advised.
As always, let's keep the conversation going. Tag us, DM us, or use the submissions form on our website. And if you want exclusive content and live streams, you'll find us over at patreon.com/booktalk4booktalk.
If you can't get enough of analysis, please make sure to check out the Subtext Society Journal, where we write think pieces discussing the romance and romantasy genre as a whole, the ongoing conversations in the bookish community, and insights into the publishing and author world. You can read our latest articles for free with no subscription required, but to receive the newest articles in the future, make sure to subscribe.
Want to be published? Head to the subtextsocietyjournal.substack.com to submit your article for a chance to be a paid contributor.
Each week, we ask ourselves a question, and for today's episode, we're asking, what role does restraint play in Heir of Fire, both in Celaena's suppressed power and in terms of SJM's narrative pacing? And how does that tension drive the reader's anticipation?
Themes we'll see in this section include mirroring and parallels. I will also say this is the episode where Rowan punches Aelin. It's actually the first chapter that we're covering today. I'm fiery today, and that's unfortunate. I am fiery with the passion of dealing with stupid men and their stupid shit and stupid fucking things of having to fucking prove yourself. Actually, this is great material. Go forth. Let's start this. If you're a Rowan apologist and you're a diehard, circle back next week.
I think we should take a sip.
Oh, I don't want to lose this fire. Ready.
Am I ready? I emotionally need to prepare.
You need to be prepared for like the beatdown that he's about to get?
Yeah.
Did your point of view change?
Let's get into it.
All right.
We are in chapter 8, and we're in the study of Mistward, the fortress where Maeve has greeted Rowan and Celaena, and everything about the scene is set up to remind Celaena that she is a mere mortal at this moment, and she's in the presence of predators. We see this in the way that Celaena's body reacts to her surroundings. Quote, her hands were shaking so badly she didn't bother going for her weapons or Rowan's. The blood rushed from Celaena's head. She forced herself to take a breath. And another. In addition to Celaena's body overreacting to the situation, we also see her, like, uncomfortability.
Yeah.
Her discomfort.
Yeah. We're looking for a word, discomfort.
Yeah, less syllables. We also see her discomfort in her observations about Rowan. Quote, the room was too hot, too small, Rowan a brooding force of nature behind her. He stepped away from her with his powerful predatory ease and leaned against the door. He's back. What was it last time? Sexy Jaguar?
Is that so what we called him? Is that what happened?
Man, you guys, it's been a few weeks since we recorded episode 1, and I remember us going way too hard on something about a jaguar.
Yeah, it has been a few weeks.
Yeah.
We were different people then.
We really were. Anyway, Rowan is a predator. We see it in his lithe body and how he moves, and Celaena is uncomfortable.
To me, this is setting the stage up here that Celaena is terrified that she is not in power and that those around her are the ones in power. And this is not like anything we've seen before. Celaena has always kind of had this cocky attitude of like, I can take anyone here. And even in Throne of Glass, when she was stripped away and she was literally a slave and in shackles, she was still like mentally being like, I'm going to kick their ass. And it's like, no, you can't. You're starving. This is the first time where I think she has a very realistic idea of, oh, I'm not going to make it out of this room. And it's meant to set this up that Rowan is old and threatening. I'm going to start with this statement mainly because I really want to make editing a clip of this episode easier. And that statement is Sarah J. Maas is setting up Rowan's character development. And you have to start somewhere. And normally that's a low place so that you can build him up. SJM is setting Rowan up at his lowest. And we are not supposed to accept or approve of what he does here because that's how character arcs go. And so by Celaena telling us how old and threatening he is, SJM is setting it up to make him look bad.
I will also argue to that point like you said, this is the first time we've really seen Celaena out of her element, really afraid. That, too, is an indicator that Celaena is also at her lowest.
Mm-hmm.
She is also setting up Celaena to look bad. Just want to put it out there.
Yeah.
Then, of course, we also have the very eerie presence of Maeve, who inspires great fear in Celaena. Quote, Maeve was fearsome in her perfection, utterly still, eternal, and calm, and radiating ancient grace. Maeve, the face of 1,000 legends and nightmares. Epics and poems and songs had been written about her, so many that some even believed she was just a myth. But here was the dream, the nightmare made flesh. As Celaena rose, Maeve remained smiling faintly, a spider with a fly in its web. Maeve is this, preternatural being compared to Celaena's mere human.
Mm-hmm.
And Celaena, let's be honest, scared shitless. And Maeve knows that she's in this position of power. She doesn't even bother to speak or share pleasantries with Celaena when they finally start speaking. Celaena even thinks, quote, no exchanging pleasantries then. Maeve was going right for the throat.
And in order to attempt to kind of, I don't know, not even set balance, but this is just Celaena trying to be like, let's not call me Aelin. She says, quote, Aelin Galathinius is dead. Just speaking her name aloud, the damned name she had dreaded and hated and tried to forget. I love that she says her name. The absolute disconnect of Aelin and Celaena. Those are two different people, which is why we are still calling her Celaena. We are not switching over to Aelin yet because she is not Aelin, because titles matter and the way that you structure language matters as well. We've known many different aliases for Celaena, and she's about to go by another alias as Alentia. And the one that she can't handle is her actual name. So I love the use of saying her name. It's just little subtle moments like that that does a lot for the writing.
I agree. Just a side note before Jac goes in to talk about Maeve, I want to point out the fact, because this is going to happen again in this episode, Celaena thinks to herself, quote, for Nehemia, she'd play this game. And anytime Celaena thinks that, my thought is, really? This is her motivation?
Mm-hmm.
Even though she just gave up the oath and was drunk for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So we're circling back to Nehemia. Okay, fine.
Especially at the end of Crown of Midnight, she was also with Elena being like, yeah, I should probably stop this super evil thing. That's probably a good thing to do. SJM wanted this book to be a certain thing, and she's forcing it into a box.
I agree.
But let's look at Maeve right now, Let's look at this quote. The Queen of the Fae remained silent, her long fingers moon white, enfolded in the lap of her violet gown. A white barn owl perched on the back of her chair. She didn't bother with a crown, and Celaena supposed she didn't need one. I really love this description for a lot of different reasons, and I'm going to get into the moon white aspect of it, but to me, this just reminds me of Queen Elizabeth I. The way that Queen Elizabeth presented herself was a very specific way. She made herself look like a virginal queen. She made herself appear very royal, almost. I mean, at that point, they believed royals were gifted by God. Queen Elizabeth really had a lot of imagery surrounding that. And even in this moment, right, you have a violet gown, almost feminine, but not girlish. And then you have a barn owl that's right behind her, and that's, represents knowledge. And then she's not wearing a crown. So is she kind of a humble queen? And then you have these long moon white fingers, and it's like moon, you kind of imagine it to be associated with purity. That's what happened with Queen Elizabeth. There was a lot of association with the moon and her own purity. And funny enough, with the goddess Artemis during that time, which we kind of have a similar thing happening here, although that's not Maeve. Anyway, it's also interesting because in the last several books, we've associated the moon as being a signifying moment to illuminate, pun intended, the truth. And we always talked about the moon and the truth. So at first I was like, that doesn't really work here. And then I was like, actually it does, because Maeve be dropping some truth bombs here. Maeve's office is also very distinct. Quote, it was somewhat absurd, though. Maeve holding court in this half-rotted office at a desk stained with the word knew what. Gods, the fact that Maeve was seated at a desk. She should be in some ethereal garden. surrounded by some Bobby Will-o'-the-Wisps and maidens dancing to lutes and harps, reading the wheels of stars like they were poetry. Not here. Again, it's very disrupting of what we're seeing and what we would imagine. It's interesting what Celaena's imagining, where it's a very non-threatening image. And honestly, it's frankly a very childish image. And I don't think that's what Celaena actually was anticipating. I think that's kind of her coping through this very scary woman who she hasn't given much thought to. She hasn't thought about why did her parents not want her to meet Maeve. She hasn't thought about, hey, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. She hasn't thought about like, hey, this is one of the oldest creatures here on this planet. Maybe this isn't a good idea. So you have this childish notion about Maeve, but then you also have this like contrast. Again, Maeve doesn't have a crown, and here she is with this very non-royal area, and it's meant to put you off kiltered. And I don't think this is a Crescent City spoiler, but this reminds me of one of the characters in Crescent City when you see their office for the first time. And, Bryce was kind of thrown off of, this is what it looks like in here. And it kind of had the same vibe for me.
Yeah, I think it's a great point, though, that it's also a coping mechanism to help her cope through her fear of Maeve in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Maeve is less scary if she's surrounded by women playing harps and lutes in a garden.
Yeah. I mean, in theory, I'd be less scared of that, but I'd also, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I would be scared of it. I'd feel very, no. I don't want to frolic. Not with strangers. Now, before Amy goes into her note, I want to call out another brief moment, and it's another brief power move. This time it's from Rowan, and it's the fact that we discover that he does not let Celaena bathe before meeting Maeve. And we recognize that it's something that is meant to throw Celaena off kilter. That is what Celaena identifies. Rowan and Maeve share a little look, a little smile, and, someone might be sitting there being like, oh, God, so what? She doesn't get to shower. That has a lot. There's a reason why when people go through very intense, dark depressions, they don't shower. It has a lot to do with your mentality. I don't want to say that this is a light thing, that he doesn't let her bathe. And we've already talked about, maybe we haven't. This is the second episode after all. Bathing often represents cleansing of sins. And Rowan is not letting her cleanse her sins. He is not letting her even try to be better at this point. So,
well, and there's also something about propriety, right? It is expected that you look your best when you approach your king or queen because you want to be as close to their level as possible, because it's a sign of respect.
Yeah.
Celaena, by being dirty, is not being respectful.
And he knows that Celaena's a queen. So he's allowing this queen to come before his queen as lesser.
Mm-hmm.
If not just allowing it, setting it up to be so.
Absolutely. We learn at this point now that Maeve had asked Celaena's parents to see Aelin, and Aelin's mother, Evelyn, specifically never let Maeve meet Aelin/Celaena. In fact, they even defied Maeve's orders to bring Aelin to Maeve when she was a child. While Maeve is informing Celaena of this background, Maeve, quote, seemed to come closer without moving. Run. Every instinct roared with the word. She had a feeling that the eye of Elena would have been no use, but she wished she had it anyway. Wished the dead queen were here for that matter. It's a big deal if Celaena's like, gosh, where's Queen Elena? Because
I know.
Even Queen Elena's better in this situation.
Yeah.
What I find interesting in this scene, and I think is very important for understanding Rowan and Celaena and how their relationship develops over the course of this novel, is the fact that the only time Celaena works up the nerve to talk back to Maeve is when Maeve begins to talk about Endovier. Mm-hmm. That is when Celaena's like, absolutely the fuck not. You will stop it. Now, Celaena just deflects. She doesn't say what I just said. But what we learn from the narrative is that, quote, Celaena didn't want Rowan knowing about Endovier, didn't want that pity. Pity is going to be so important in how Celaena reacts to people around her. And it's important for us to call that out because it starts several threads that we're going to follow during the course of our analysis. So, first of all, Celaena doesn't want pity. That includes, but maybe is especially she doesn't want pity from Rowan. She chafes at it, and that's because at the end of the day, it feeds her self-hatred. We'll come back to that idea a little bit later in the episode.
I do not relate to people when they're like, I don't want their pity. But that's because I feel like I use pity as a weapon, where if someone was like, one time I was like, I didn't get any sleep. And they kind of were like up all night. They just made a snide comment about me reading. I was like, no, it's the anniversary of my dad's death. How do you feel about that then? Do you feel good? And yes, that was my response in that tone. Use pity as a weapon. It's my recommendation.
Well, and Selena hasn't learned that lesson yet. Pity makes her feel weak.
Yeah. I mean, mine's probably not healthy. So don't actually do this.
It's also important that Rowan doesn't know much about Selena other than what Maeve tells him. And it's important for us as readers to clock that because ultimately, he's just going to make a lot of assumptions. And his assumptions are going to fuel his interactions with Selena. He only really begins to change once he learns more about her.
It's really interesting that Selena doesn't want Rowan's pity because it's meant to show that there's tension between the two, right? You wouldn't go to a stranger and, you're at Starbucks and you're just like, that woman who's ordering the pumpkin spice latte, I don't want her pity. Like, you don't do that with a stranger. You normally do that when there's been some kind of dynamic. And I really want to point out, they have spent 3 days together and have had one conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, while they've spent 3 days together, it's been an absolute silence. They have not talked. And it is an instant way of building a dynamic and relationship that authors do. I personally feel like in this instance, it's a bit of a cop-out. It's putting in here's the tension without giving me reason why there should be tension.
My interpretation of this is that Selena views Rowan as a warrior, an immortal warrior who's lived longer than she has. She might want his respect.
Yeah.
And him pitying her does not help her earn that respect.
I can be on board with that. I need a few lines getting me there.
I totally agree. We're making leaps here right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of leaps, who else feels like this is a leap in logic from Selena? Quote, Maeve knew everything. Through whatever spies or power or guesswork, Maeve knew everything about Selena and the vow to Nehemia. How? It's because her eye twinkles? Like, that's it. There's no other real clue other than Maeve once saying, my spies say.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's multiple times throughout the conversation that Selena's like, I could tell by the way she looked at me that she knew the whole truth about my background or whatever. This is an easy solve. SJM could have had Maeve say something to show us that Maeve knows something that she shouldn't know. And that maybe she does have powers or access to other things that are giving her that knowledge. Instead, though, SJM is telling us that this is the case through Selena, which to me makes it a little unbelievable.
I have so many twinkles in my eyes, and that's mainly because my contacts are dry. So I can only assume what people are thinking that I'm thinking. But sometimes I feel like it's another cop-out when, you just kind of this mysterious, I know things. I have spies. Like right now we're guessing that she has spies and we're, saying because Selena's like through whatever spy work. And it's like, okay, so the vow that you made in that empty graveyard where Kale was spying on you, you're telling me that there was another spy who was spying on you at the exact same time at that grave, which okay, sure, maybe, but it's just such a specific and convenient moment of like, oh, wow. You had a little Hawkman watching you the whole time. But then that would have required a Fae to go there and lose their power. So they would have to lose their Fae ability of being able to turn back. There's just a lot into it. And I think when people go like spy network, it's a cop out.
I agree. I agree. I got nothing else to say.
I'm so spicy today. Okay. The next part, people love to forget. They love to forget this thing when it comes to Rowan. Maeve says, and remember this, Rowan is her number one man. They had a look at each other and he's like, silent conversation. I didn't bathe her. And Maeve was like, good guy. As far as we know, we need to assume that Rowan is the same. So Maeve says this, quote, I do not permit mortals or half-breeds into Doranel. For a half-breed to enter my realm, she must prove herself both gifted and worthy. Mistward, this fortress," she waved a hand to encompass the room, "is one of several proving grounds and a place where those who do not pass the test can spend their days." Beneath the growing fear, a flicker of disgust went through her. Half-breed. Maeve had said it with such disdain. I'm not saying that what Celaena says later is good and have equated it to her promoting genocide. I want to identify the environment that Celaena is in right now. And that is an area, like, she's physically unsafe. And she is being very much judged for being a half-breed. Imagine anywhere, and the way that I'm trying to like process this and not dismiss what Celaena says and being like, you guys are being dramatic, it's not genocide. I replace what she says about Fae later with any other marginalized group. So I'm trying to do the same thing here, right? Imagine she's talking to a marginalized group and she says, well, you're just a half-breed. Oh my God, I fucking hate that. Like, I've been called a mutt before and I hate that. So just putting that in, because as far as we know, that's Rowan's ideology as well, which is why SJM is setting us up to be like, maybe we shouldn't trust this man. And at this point, the reader should have that same assumption. We get more moon imagery, which is confusing because, like I said, moons means the truth. Quote, Maeve ran a moon white finger down the owl's head. I wish you to become who you were born to become queen. And it's such a funny statement because you should feel at ease, right? You should feel like, yay, Celaena is a queen. She's Aelin.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I not feel safe? It's a great use of whatever magic wording is happening here. And it is the truth. Maeve does want her to become queen. She does want these things, but like, we do not trust what she is putting down. And not much is being said here other than, stroking a finger down the owl's head. That's intimidating. I don't know why it is, but it is. And maybe it's because, like, at this point, we know too much of it, but I think it's good imagery of showing that Maeve isn't to be trusted.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, the moon imagery associated with Maeve is a red herring because we've been taught to associate moon with truth and Elena, but you know what? Elena also isn't to be trusted.
Yeah.
And so both Elena and Maeve are being associated with the moon. Maybe it's not a good thing, guys.
Well, it's funny because Elena doesn't tell the truth for shit. But both of them do want Celaena to become queen, but for different motivations.
Yep, very different reasons. Now, after the encounter with Maeve, Celaena and Rowan leave the study and Rowan takes Celaena to her rooms. Celaena immediately smells, quote, meat and garlic. Her stomach grumbled, but she'd probably hurl her guts up the second she swallowed anything. Celaena, despite being hungry, despite being on the road for 3 days, doesn't think she can stomach anything. I've spoken about this idea of hunger and vomiting and whether or not you can contain food before in other seasons. But for anybody who's new, food is power. And if Celaena cannot consume food, if she cannot keep food in her body, it's a reminder of how weak she is right now. And in some cases, her humanity. She is human to their fae. And for her to be unable to strengthen her body just enhances her weakness. It just continues to make her feel off kilter and remind us of the power differential between Celaena and Rowan.
Yep, such a power differential. Okay, let's build into this punch, shall we? So Celaena and Rowan are walking, and, quote, she could hardly tell he was there, but she knew, if only because she could almost feel the ire radiating off of him. Good. At least one other person wasn't particularly thrilled about this bargain. They've had one conversation. The one conversation was, get off your ass, I'm taking you to meet Maeve. And she was a little sassy to him, and he was just like, shut up. And then they traveled for 3 days and didn't talk. Like, we find out why he's annoyed. We find out why, like, he doesn't respect her. But it's a lot of, I'm trying to organize my thoughts. SJM, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as a first-time reader, you don't know any of that bullshit.
Yes, and even as knowing this bullshit, it still doesn't make sense. And I'm going to get into it more because Rowan, a more than a grown-ass adult, is going to hold Celaena to a standard of saying you should have taken action and Celaena is only 19. When was she supposed to take action? When she got her first period? Like, when was that action supposed to take place? So I need everyone to remember that this is someone, Rowan is someone who's supposed to have their mental shit together. If I, a 35 for only 3 more days woman, almost 36, can have enough wherewithal to be like, this kid is just now coming into their power, is just now figuring their shit out, so can someone who's like hundreds and hundreds or maybe even thousands. I can't even remember how old he is. So that's just very important. And it's establishing that he is more powerful and he's angry at her. Like, it doesn't make sense. We find out later, but even when we find out later, it still doesn't make sense to me. He reminds her that he's old and uses it as a threat. Quote, I fought on killing fields long before you, your parents, or your grand uncle were even born. Power imbalance. She's Fae. She's also an assassin. They're equals.
She's not even 20.
She's not even 20. Like, they're not equal. It's a power imbalance. And he is calling her Aelin to provoke her because she provokes him. The only difference is her existence provokes him, and that's on him, not her. Yeah. He is actively trying to provoke her. Her provoking him is just being there and existing.
Yes. So now let's get into how Celaena acts. Because, again, they've had one conversation. They were silent for 3 days. Rowan feels pretty good about himself that he made Celaena eat dirt before showing Celaena off to Maeve. And after saying 2 more sentences to each other, Celaena is convinced, quote, oh, the prince wanted to tangle. Whatever self-control he'd had on their trek to the fortress was hanging on by a thread. Good. First of all, WTF.
Yeah.
But most importantly, Celaena does want to antagonize Rowan. And I'm not going to defend either of them for their actions. I just want to point out Rowan is provoked by her existence and she can tell. So she's going to provoke him back. And part of that is because at the end of the day, she's the smaller animal trapped in the corner by the bigger animals.
Yeah.
So even though she notices Rowan's animal traits, even though she's noticed for days how much of a predator he is, she doesn't back down because when he calls her Aelin, hiding her identity as Aelin is more important than submitting to him, than her fear. Quote, she stepped in his path, getting right near those 2 sharp canines. No one here can know who I am. Do you understand? His green eyes gleamed, animal bright in the dark. Even though he's visibly a predator, she's going to make demands and provoke him because she cannot yet accept her identity.
Then we finally get to the damning sentence, quote, and then she said one of the foulest things she'd ever uttered in her life, bathing in the pure hate of it. Fae like you make me understand the King of Adarlan's actions a bit more, I think. And again, in order for me to not dismiss it, I have to replace Fae with any other minority group. I'm not even going to say it. I don't even like thinking about it, right? Like the second I start thinking about, okay, well, that's the reason why blank, like you deserve blank blank, and I can't even do that. People say that she's promoting genocide. It's hard for me to say yes, but I can also understand what people are saying. And what she says is not okay. What she says is not acceptable. It is still important to remember the context of when this was said, where she is on the defense because the people here view her less because her blood is not pure.
Exactly. I mean, you could view this in a couple of different ways. You could view this as the Fae are the minority, but you could also view it as the half-breeds being the minority.
Yep.
Right? And so Celaena has been deeply offended. She has been humiliated. She is afraid. You can't be surprised if she spews hate back after they've been doing shit to her.
And Maeve even told her, hey, we purposely didn't come and help your family because your mom never showed me you.
Yep.
I let your entire family die because I am petty and I have zero regret for it.
Yeah, I let your whole kingdom fall.
So when Celaena says, Fae like you, she's thinking, and again, this is not an acceptable thing to say, but it's important to remember the context. The context is that she is saying, Fae like you, the Fae who judge me by my blood for thinking that I am less than, who let my entire family and kingdom, and not just her kingdom, subsequently all the other kingdoms that fell after, happen because your queen was feeling a little petty.
Mm-hmm.
What she said was not okay, but to think that it is said in this isolated manner is a ignorant way of reading. I don't know if that's the right way of saying that, but it's a very isolated way of reading something without understanding full context, when I will give SJM credit here in saying that this is a complex moment.
It's a very complex moment. I think that another way to put it is just you're picking and choosing. You can't pick and choose. Well, I have a question of whether what Celaena says even makes sense in the context of what's happening.
I agree.
Or if SJM forced it. But I understand the principle in which SJM is operating, which is they said some ugly shit. She says some ugly shit back. And none of it's good. It all feeds into each other.
Yeah.
Do I think the moment is forced? I do.
Yes. What you said is perfect, where this is one of those moments where they're both at their lowest. And if you are coming in and saying what Celaena says is absolutely unforgivable, she deserves to be punched, then you need to have that same mentality with Rowan punching her. What he did was unforgivable. He should never have done that. It is meant to be an equal moment. You want to argue, people, that they're equal? Okay, great. What they did was equally shit. So it's okay to say what he did was wrong because it's meant to show that he is going to grow and be a better person. And you can't have that if you don't establish that. You're literally missing the plot.
Woof. But it happens anyway. So we're going to now focus on how Aelin reacts to being punched, because I think the way Aelin reacts to this in this scene and in subsequent scenes that we're going to see, she's okay with it. And I think that's why readers are okay with Rowan's actions.
Yeah.
But let's remember the context, folks. Quote, she hit the wall, whacked her head, and tasted blood. Good. That's what she thinks. Good. Celaena wants to be in pain right now. Physical pain helps mask emotional pain. Just like her drinking wine and being drunk under the sun at the start of the novel, it masks the emotional pain she feels. She is being self-destructive.
Mm-hmm.
Everything she's going to do for a while is very self-destructive. And therefore, Celaena is provoking Rowan on purpose to aid her self-destruction. It makes me think personally, Rowan is weak by responding to her taunts, and he catches himself the second time. But again, to Jac's point, they are both at rock bottom.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be alive. I don't think he wants to be alive either.
How are we not looking at this as Rowan's at more rock bottom than her?
Right.
The fact that he's getting provoked by a teenager who, frankly, is underage for him. The fact that he's getting provoked that hard by a teenager and he's losing self-control and is punching a mortal human woman in the face. I don't give a fuck that she is an assassin warrior. Still punched her in the face. Shows that he's actually way more screwed up than she is.
Yep.
Celaena also describes it that, quote, faster than she could sense, faster than anything had the right to be, he punched her. It's funny because sometimes, like, I think people also forget. We forgot when we were talking about this scene of the setup to this, right? Like, initially we talked about it. We're like, he warned her. They were on their way to training. Neither of these things happened. They were not on the way to training. He did not warn her. He did not tell her, you better shut up or I'm going to hit you. And then she keeps pushing, you know? None of those things matter. Like, none of those things happened. It's a very short conversation. At one point, I was even debating counting the words that had been exchanged between the two of them. And I promise you it was probably going to be under 100.
Oh, yeah. It's like 4 sentences.
Yeah. Why does it matter? She is a warrior. She asked for it. We're going to get into that later, which is going to be in our Breadcrumbs and Broomsticks section. So just wait. You think I can bitch now? I can bitch more. But know this. I already made this point, but I'm going to keep reminding you this isn't supposed to be okay. So let's all be on board with that as we move forward.
I'm sure if we ask SJM herself, she'd be like, yeah, no, it's not okay that he did that. I wanted to show how much of an asshole he is so I can make him better.
Right? He's not going to come in as this wise knight in shining armor and then continue to do nothing. Like, Rowan already is one of the most boring characters in this series. We got to give him one little interesting thing, and that's from being a woman hitter to not. Sorry, even I was like, that's harsh.
He is just as depressed as Celaena.
Arguably more.
Arguably more. Yeah. And that's what we should be seeing in this moment.
Yeah.
They parallel each other, even though we don't know it right now. Which means if you're not okay with Celaena's actions, you're not okay with Rowan's actions, because they're both coming from a shit place.
Mm-hmm.
So, Rowan goes for a second punch and then stops. Celaena taunts him, quote, her breathing turned ragged as she purred, do it. He looked more interested in ripping out her throat than in talking, but he held the line he'd drawn. Why should I give you what you want? She purrs to him. She's trying to seduce him into hitting her again. Even Rowan recognizes what she's trying to do. And what is it she's trying to do? She hates herself. She wants to get hit because she thinks she deserves it. And that's why readers are okay with it, because if Celaena thinks she deserves it, then it's fine. It's not. It's not fine, guys.
No, SJM is trying to accomplish so much in such a short period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole thing about, like, I mean, actually at this point, I think she's established her self-hatred. Like, yes, she hates herself. So
yeah,
Celaena wanting to be punched makes sense. The way we got to the self-hatred is we already went in on that of like, that does not make any sense here. But then this dynamic between the two of them is also feeling very rushed. Again, we're trying to go from this training sequence that came out of nowhere with this book. Rowan says to her, why should I give you what you want? When has he seen any of the evidence for this? Like, he's seen her drunk and spiraling. He's seen her quiet and broody, and he's seen her feisty trying to rile him up. Like, there's just a lot of assumptions that he makes about her that is so far and out of left field that it's hard for me to be like, I don't know, any kind of sympathetic to the writing, not just to him.
No, I completely agree with you. I think there are a lot of leaps, and that's why I am among the people that say, once you get past Heir of Fire, it gets better. And it's not because Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight were bad. They were actually pretty good, except for Nehemia. Heir of Fire, this is a rough start. This is her roughest start so far, being SJM and her writing.
I think, and I don't know if I'm going to say this later, if I'm saying this next week. I can't remember. But I say it at one point, is that the thing that saves this book is Manon, and not just because she's a cool character, but because you're getting a full fresh start and a full fresh story.
Yep.
And the pacing of Chaol's and Dorian's story is a slower, realistic pace. Those are the things that save this book.
Yep. I completely agree. It's really Dorian and Sorsha and Manon.
Yeah.
That's it. And Aedion. I like Aedion.
We like Aedion. Everything else, but the thing is, Manon's story is very traditional storytelling. Beginning, middle, end. Climax. We meet a character. There's an arc. Character grows. Beginning, middle, end. Very traditional storytelling. And it's both weird and out of place in a story that's being forced to be another thing. But it actually helps stabilize this more.
Yep. So we are still not done with this scene, so let's keep going. Quote, Rowan let out a soft, lethal laugh that raked claws down her temper. If you're that desperate to eat stone, go ahead. I'll let you try to land the next punch. She knew better than to listen, but there was such a roar in her blood that she could no longer see right, think right, breathe right, so she damned the consequences to hell as she swung. We keep being reminded, Rowan is a predator. He has a lethal laugh. It rakes claws down her temper.
Mm-hmm.
She knows that he is bigger, badder, stronger, but Celaena is the small, little, defenseless animal that's been backed into a corner by the bigger, badder Fae. And of course, she's going to act out. She is like a caged animal trying to survive at this moment.
I actually think SJM missed a moment here where she should have said, like, talons down her mind. I think that would have been a good moment. Yeah.
It would have been a good moment. Let's take a sip. After their little tiff, Rowan decides to let Celaena know, oh, by the way, you're going to work in the kitchen. Everybody has to work hard labor here. And he thinks she's going to balk because she's a princess. She's a queen. But Celaena doesn't balk. She's been a slave. It's a reminder to us that Rowan knows almost nothing about Celaena. And therefore, I mean, he didn't even bother to do any research about her. And Maeve obviously has information.
Yeah, Maeve knows so much. She knows so much in the twinkle of her eye.
And he didn't ask any questions?
It's stupid. Stupid.
So, he's proving he's making assumptions. Celaena doesn't want him to know any more than his assumptions because that continues to make him a tool for her self-destruction. As long as he continues to hate her and think the worst about her, she's going to succeed in her implosion, essentially, because he's going to be the match that lights her fuse.
Mm-hmm.
When Celaena tries to remind Rowan that they're technically distantly related because Maeve said so, Rowan says to her, quote, "We've as much blood in common as I do with the fortress pig boy," which is a very effective way of saying, you are insignificant and disgusting, and I want nothing to do with you, Celaena.
But also it implies dirty blood. That's the thing, right? Like, with as much as, like, what is it? With the fortress pig boy.
Yeah.
The pig boy, first off, you can be like, what, literally a pig boy? Or, you know, the guy who handles the pigs. But either way, you associate pigs with mud and just dirty.
Yeah.
I don't want to say mudblood, but like literally that's kind of what I'm like coming into. But he's saying that he has dirty, that I'm so disgusted by the fact that you and I have this disgusting a little bit of blood related. And it's trash and you're trash. So, you know.
So Celaena gets to her room. Rowan leaves for the night. And Celaena stops to think about her actions of the last 5 to 10 minutes. And again, I want to remind folks how Celaena's okay with what's just happened and why that might make you as the reader okay with what just happened. But we must fight our instincts and not succumb to Celaena's warped thinking. She has cognitive dissonance right now. She is depressed AF. Yeah. We should not be agreeing with Celaena. No. Quote, lashing out at Rowan like that, saying the things she did, trying to fight with him. She deserved that punch, more than deserved it. If she was being honest with herself, she was barely passable as a human being these days. No, that's what they want you to think.
Yeah.
Now, maybe she deserved retaliation for provoking Rowan, but Rowan deserved retaliation for provoking Celaena. Let's just be real here. Either way, though, it doesn't mean physical violence was the answer. It doesn't mean physical violence was the right thing to do. The fact that Celaena rationalizes the physical violence against her shows how mentally unwell she is right now. Because rationalizing harm, quote from Google, rationalizing harm caused by others towards you is a defense mechanism, a psychological strategy to protect oneself from painful or unacceptable feelings. Celaena hates herself because Nehemia is dead and she feels responsible. She doesn't want to feel that way. So let's rationalize the fact that someone else is causing her pain and should therefore continue to cause her pain because that will distract her from her feelings about Nehemia.
And if we, the reader, can say, yes, Celaena rationalizing this violence as being okay is a sign of her being unwell, take that mirror to yourself. And are you rationalizing this violence as well? And is that okay, that what you're doing too?
Wow, we are not holding back. All right. Chapter 8. We're finally at the end, folks. Celaena admits to herself that despite how fearsome Maeve is, Celaena admits, I say admits because it's the first time she's really saying it to herself out loud, quote unquote, in her brain. It's the first time she's acknowledging the fact that maybe she was the one who damned everybody in her life. Quote, "What Maeve could never understand was just how much that little princess in Terrasen had damned them a decade ago, even worse than Maeve herself had. She had damned them all and then left the world to burn into ash and dust." So what we finally get at is not the fact that it's Nehemia that makes Celaena feel like shit. It's really Celaena and who she was as a 10-year-old, not being able to save people. She feels responsible for the fall of her kingdom, for the death of her family. And that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Celaena's self-hatred.
Was she 8 or 9? I don't think she was 10.
Oh, you're right. She was 8.
Yeah.
She was 8.
She was 8 fucking years old. And I want people to recognize the counterweight of words here. How much that little princess damned them. These are two things that are opposites to one another. How can a little princess truly actually damn an entire kingdom?
Or fight back?
Anything.
Yeah.
We, the reader, are supposed to be picking up these clues. That the expectations that Celaena has of herself are irrational and not okay. And I think to some extent, the reader might be able to pick that up. Like, say like, oh, baby, you're so little. We need to have that same frustration with Rowan when he has those expectations of her.
Plot twist, it's an ad break, but we promise it is still canon.
Amy, we're about to go to a book conference, and I will give you one guess as to what pair of shoes I'm bringing.
I bet it is your Vionic Walk Slim sneakers.
How did you know?
Because I have those too, and they are so amazing.
We're going to be matching.
We are. What I love about my Walk Slims is the sleek, low profile, and the built-in orthotics. I love not having to switch out orthotics from shoe to shoe. This is the ultimate shoe for me.
I didn't know I cared about orthotics until these shoes, and now my feet are able to walk for an insane amount of time. And it's not just these cool sneakers, but they also have these amazing Uptown loafers. Their Uptown loafers are perfect for these autumn bookish events that we've been going to because it looks really cool and they can fold flat, which has been making packing so much easier when we go to these conventions.
What's great about Vionic shoes is their exclusive VO motion technology, which has revolutionized medical orthotics. They even offer a 30-day guarantee so that you can wear them, love them, or return them for a full refund within 30 days. Who does that?
People who have full confidence in their product, as they should. And right now, you can use code BookTok at checkout for 15% off your entire order at vionicshoes.com when you log into your account.
Use code BookTalk, BookTalk, at checkout for 15% off your entire order at vionicshoes.com when you log into your account. One-time use only.
Vionic Shoes, wearable well-being for your feet. Every holiday season, I am always thrown off by how much money I have to spend, and every holiday season, I really wish I had better saving habits, which I should have learned early.
Acorns Early is the money app and debit card that makes it easy to grow kids' smart money habits. Do for your kids what our parents didn't do for us.
Why didn't they have apps available in the 90s?
Acorns Early lets kids learn by doing. They can earn money with the in-app chores tracker, practice real-life budgeting with automatic allowances, and even set their own savings goals.
I love this because it's not just a card, it's their card with over 35 customized designs to choose from. Plus, kids feel the impact of their spending choices, sparking independence and confidence with every swipe.
And parents get peace of mind too. You don't have to worry about your kid asking for money every time you go out. Now they're going to manage their money. You can set spending limits, send money when you need to, get notifications, and step in if the card is ever lost.
This is such an important thing to learn so early on. Ready to join over 1.2 million parents and kids who've unlocked their kids' potential with Acorns Early?
Get your first month on us when you head to acornsearly.com/booktalk or download the Acorns Early app.
That's 1 month free when you sign up at acornsearly.com/booktalk. BookTalk.
Acorns Early Card is issued by NBKC Bank. Member FDIC, pursuant to license by Visa USA. Free trial for new subscribers only. Subscription fee starting from $5 per month unless canceled. Terms apply at acorns.com/early terms. The thing about Los Angeles fall is I need a sweater in the morning. And because I go to work every day, it needs to be stylish.
And Quince has got your back, Amy, because they are able to provide those sweaters and outerwear and everyday essentials that help you feel luxurious, but it's also timeless. And you are a sucker for timeless fashion.
100%. If I invest my money, I don't want to have to spend it again for a long time. That's why I buy their $50 Mongolian cashmere sweaters, because they're made not only for the workday, but the everyday.
Honestly, I've been eyeing Quince's Italian wool coats, and I've never had a wool coat. But I think it's time. I think I'm ready to upgrade my life to a wool coat. And it's great because with Quince, the cut feels designer and the quality really rivals high-end brands, but without that insane markup.
That's because they work directly with ethical, top-tier factories, and they skip the middleman to offer prices 50% less than similar brands.
One of my all-time favorite sweaters that I got last year was their boyfriend fit sweater. I keep that in my car because that is my, oh no, I forgot to bring something favorite sweater that I know I'm going to look good and works with every outfit.
So step into the holiday season with layers made to feel good, look polished, and last from Quince.
Perfect for gifting or keeping for yourself. Go to quince.com/BookTok for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. And they're now available in Canada.
That's QUINCE.com/BookTalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns.
Quince.com/BookTalk. I have been looking for a multivitamin for a really long time, and Ritual has actually always been on my list to check out. And I am so happy that we are partnering with them today because Ritual's essential multis have the nutrients most of us don't get from our food, and all in their clean, absorbable forms.
They're super heavily researched, and there's no shady additives or ingredients that do more harm to your body, which is exactly what I need because I already do enough harm to my body.
And I'm right there with you. I use the Ritual Essential for Women 18+, but I also really love their daily protein because getting protein is a full-time job, and Ritual helps me.
I've been loving their Symbiotic Plus gut health because, as all of you know, my gut hates me. It gives you the necessary prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics for a healthy system.
Their Essential for Women 18+ multi contains 9 key nutrients in 2 delayed release capsules designed for optimal absorption per day.
Ritual's multivitamins are vegan, non-GMO, project verified, gluten, and made allergen-free. And even if you don't think you need those things, trust me, you need those things.
Instead of striving for perfect health, aim for supporting foundational health.
Get 25% off your first month only at ritual.com/BookTalk.
Start Ritual or add Essential for Women 18+ to your subscription today. That's ritual.com/BookTalk, BOOKTALK, for 25% off.
We're now in Chapter 9, and I love Chapter 9 because it is slightly structured like a chiasmus. And if you haven't watched my video about chiasmus on our Instagram, you should go check it out.
Annotated with Amy.
Annotated with Amy. We start the chapter with Manon missing flying and reminiscing about the part of her that's been lost because magic is lost. She's standing on the edge of a cliff and like, the wind, I remember flying. The chapter ends with the very thrilling news that the witches are going to be able to fly again with the king of Otterland's wyverns. This is so important, right? Because to open with the fact that Manon is reminiscing on the importance of flying and how that's been stolen from them because of the loss of magic, by the way, which is caused by the king of Otterland, has to be there to explain why they are willing to fall into his trap of flying his wyverns. They are so desperate to fly again because it is so fundamental to their existence that they don't care what the king of Otterland's plans are. Yeah, we'll fucking fly these wyverns.
Yeah, get what they want.
Yep.
The first sentence of this chapter is, quote, Manon Blackbeak stood on a cliff beside the snow-swollen river, eyes closed as the damp wind bit her face. It's a very violent description, right?
Mm-hmm.
The snow-swollen river, eyes closed, damp as if someone's been crying, bit her face. It's very reminiscent of what we just saw in chapter 8 with Selena getting hit in the face. And then later on in the next chapter, we're going to have Selena staring at herself going, oh shit, that's a rough face.
It's a good point. Another thing Manon thinks to herself, I freaking love Manon. And it's because of sentences like this. And there's just so much character in the way that Asham writes the narrative when it's Manon's point of view. This is why people love Manon. It's because of how much Asham infuses Manon into her writing. Quote, there were few sounds she enjoyed more than the groans of dying men, but the wind was one of them. Also, the irony of this is that the last time we saw Manon, she was killing men and she really enjoyed it. So the fact that she enjoys this wind more than that scene.
Impressive. She really loves the wind.
She really loves the wind. So like I said before, pining for flying is important to understand not only Manon's motivations in this book, but all of the witches in the Iron Teeth clans. Quote, it had been 10 years since she'd tasted mist and cloud and ridden on the back of the wind. Today would have been a flawless flying day. The wind, wicked and fast. Today she would have soared. So the fact that she's about to gain all this back and she doesn't even know it, it's a nice full circle that Asham just does in like one little chapter. And it's chef's kiss to me.
There's a part in this quote that I find just kind of, I'm like, ooh, because I think I'm onto something. Celaena, I'm going to notice, is associated a lot with mist. Mist word, she describes her own self as being foggy, and what is fog if not mist? And, there's just a lot of like mist things. And so when Manon tasted mist, I was like, Celaena. So whether it's going to pan out, we're going to see. But I might be onto something, guys. Let's just keep an eye on that.
Yeah. So another area where we see a connection between Manon and Celaena is this idea of them being weapons. So it starts out with Manon being like, well, I'm soulless. My grandmother says I'm soulless. And that's how Blackbeaks ought to be. Quote, she was wicked right down to the marrow of her bones. But the people in those wagons and the Duke, they smelled wrong. So for context, the names are never said, but we know that it's Duke Parrington who the matrons have just met with to learn about the wyverns. And Manon can sense the wrongness of the Duke and the prisoners that are with him.
Who are Caltaine and
Roland?
Roland, yeah.
But to continue that quote, Jack.
To continue that quote, Amy, quote, you didn't need a weapon at all when you were born one. More parallels with Celaena. And a parallel doesn't always have to be that it's the exact same thing. They can also be opposites. So in many ways, Celaena was crafted to be a weapon, which is the opposite of Manon, who was born to be one.
Interesting. That's a great point.
Thank you. And then more quotes here. With her moon white hair, alabaster skin, and burnt gold eyes, she'd been told by ill-fated men that she was beautiful as a fey queen. But what those men realized too late was that her beauty was merely a weapon in her natural-born arsenal, and it made things so fun. Now, this is again where they're kind of, Celaena and Manon are both similar. They understand that their beauty can be used as a weapon. The difference is Manon is very much calling it a natural-born arsenal. And I love this idea that this feminine beauty, this idea that men are putting her on a pedestal, is a natural-born, not just weapon, part of her arsenal. Badass.
Yeah, she is badass. She is the wolf in sheep's clothing, right? The woman that she was born as is the sheep's clothing that she wears as a witch who is the predator that hunts down men. I think it's just like this really empowering sort of image of what it means to be a woman, which I think is another thing that I'm going to assume for Jack as well, we love about Manon.
Yeah.
I also want to point out that there's a lot just in that one quote that Jack just read that actually also ties Manon visually to Maeve.
Yeah, the moon white hair.
Moon white, beautiful as a fey queen.
Yeah.
So, connections.
You know what's going to happen tonight?
What?
Is that I'm going to get ready for bed. I'm going to get ready for the shower. and I'm going to grab my boobs and be like, boom, boom, arsenal. Natural born arsenal. And a little shimmy with my arsenal.
If that
Pew, pew,
makes you...
pew. Pew. Natural born arsenal. Yeah. Handcrafted natural born. They're still natural born. I just got a reduction. So they used to be a larger weapons of mass destruction. For people who aren't watching this, it's a shame. You should, because Amy has these like certain laughs and smiles that she does with me where you can tell she resents being my friend. Or resents the humor she finds in me. Like this, there's a little, every time there's a giggle, there's a little self-loathing in there too. No, but in a fun way. Actually, it wasn't even that bad. There's other times where you're like, I hate us.
Yeah, those I feel down to my core.
Yeah, that wasn't it. Your core.
No.
Okay. More into physical appearance. And here to discuss when Manon was born. Quote, and when her grandmother had seen that Manon's eyes were wholly of pure dark gold, the matron had carried her away from her daughter's still cooling corpse and proclaimed Manon her undisputed heir. So violent and graphic, right? Like her own daughter, right? Because that's, her granddaughter is dying and she just walks takes her away, because at this point it's like said that Manon claws her way out of her mother's womb, which it's almost like, did she? Are we even exaggerating at this point? I don't think so. And it's the eyes that shows that she is meant to be the next queen, the next matron, very much like Celaena's eyes, which has her associated as Ash River.
That is a great point. And they also include gold.
Yep.
Something that we see a little bit here at the end of this chapter, and it's also important to keep in mind for the next chapter that we read with Manon, is the clues that we get about the very aggressive nature of the culture, not only amongst the witches, amongst the Blackbeaks, but also specifically between Manon and the matron, her grandmother. She thinks about how she might get punished for something, and she thinks that, quote, flogging, perhaps a few broken fingers, nothing too permanent, but it would be public. That was her grandmother's preferred method of punishment, not the how, but the humiliation. This is important because we're already establishing kind of the tenor of the relationship between Manon and the matron. The matron picked Manon because of her eyes, because they indicate something. We'll get to that in the breadcrumbs. But she's also not the loving, nurturing kind. She's very happy and willing to humiliating punishment in public to teach Manon lessons. So I think that's just something to flag for right now. I also want to point out, because we talk about it a lot, the Farian Gap. It's mentioned in Crown of Midnight. It's where we're currently at in Manon's point of view. I thought it was interesting. Farian is an Old English verb that means to carry or to bring. And the Farian Gap is where you have to travel through to get from the White Fang Mountains to Terracin. Something
from
to
one
that
place
effect.
to another.
From one place to another. That's right.
Yeah. As are much roads meant to do.
One other thing I like about Manon, and I think is important to bring up, it's kind of a breadcrumb. I'm not going to say how it's a breadcrumb per se, but Manon feels the threads of fate twisting. And from her point of view, we do get references to the threads of fate throughout this series. And what we're going to see in another scene as well is how Manon can sense things that others can't among the witches. So just another important thing to flag. Let's take a sip. Chapter 10. We are in Chaol's point of view, and he's had a long day. But you know what? He's pissed at his guards because they keep shirking their duties. Why is that? Aelin has been telling his men, don't worry. Chaol said it's okay. Come with me to my party. So Chaol goes in search of his men and Aelin at a tavern that Aelin has bought out, and it only takes one glance at his big pommel for folks to get the message that Chaol means business. Quote,
dirty.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. Quote, men were at the door to keep out the riffraff, but one glare from Chaol, one glimpse of the eagle-shaped pommel of his sword, had them stepping aside. I just can't take
bald
it.
eagle for you right there.
No.
I think we've been listening to Wood by Taylor Swift a lot lately.
Yeah, maybe. So I get it. An eagle is a bird of prey. It's a symbol of power. It represents his family. Everyone knows he's captain of the guard, but it's just so phallic. I just can't take it seriously.
It's a dirty bird. There's a reason why bald eagle has other dirty connotations.
Thank you. Speaking of birds, turns out Chaol's on a wild goose chase. I thought I did a great job. How dare you laugh?
That was way better than ambulance. So. Someone call an ambulance. This was great. Wild goose chase was awesome. Comedy gold here.
Chaol's on a wild goose chase, one where the goose is nowhere to be seen. Mysterious. This triggers something for Chaol, and I wonder why. Quote.
No, it's fine. I have a different thought, but continue.
Quote. So he needed to have more than just words with Aelin. He needed to find something to use against him, so Aelin would agree not to throw these parties and swear to keep his bane under control. Tomorrow night, Chaol would go to whatever party Aelin threw and see what leverage he could find. This is very Selena-coded to me. This is not the honorable Chaol we met in the first novel. I feel like the honorable Chaol would have just gone to Aelin and said, be a better person, stop doing this.
Yeah.
Chaol wants to blackmail Aelin.
Yeah.
And I have to ask the question, is it because Aelin is related to Aelin/Selena that Chaol is conjuring Selena in this moment?
I like that. That was a good thing to end on. I was going to be like, that's one cooked turkey. And just to keep the bird going. It's going to pluck his feathers. No, but I actually really like that. I do think that has a lot to do with it.
I actually think that because Aelin is related to Aelin and Chaol knows Aelin is Selena, I think he actually finds a lot of comfort in Aelin.
Yeah.
I think baby boy's pining.
Will you love me?
That's the queer fic I need. I need that
So
fanfiction.
be into that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Actually, AO3, Chapter 11. Selena wakes up to a love note and a tin of salve. Quote, you deserved it. Maeve sends her wishes for a speedy recovery. This is not helping. Because Selena agrees with Rowan. Yeah, I did deserve it, Rowan. Which solidifies the cognitive dissonance going on in her brain right now. If you don't know what cognitive dissonance it means, I'm hard-pressed to define it at this moment.
It means far away from real thoughts.
Yes, where your thoughts do not align with reality.
I actually think I did a good job.
You did a great job.
Thank you.
Rowan doesn't know what he's doing, right? He doesn't know that he's enforcing this dissonance within Selena because he feels justified. Selena's not going to enlighten him about the harm that he's doing because she wants his respect. And she doesn't want him to know what she's going through. So they're caught in this really, really, really shitty cycle. And we should all know that they're both contributing to it.
And if you want some more imagery for their lack of forgiveness and moving forward, you can look at the fact that Rowan only gives Selena a few pitchers of water and soap and then some new clothes. And it's like, there you go. May that be enough. A few pitchers of water is not enough for me to bathe at all.
Nope.
Is her hair even clean? I mean, barely. Like, what can you even do with that? There is no double wash with that one. And again, I would like to talk about bathing really representing a cleansing of sins. You can even in this point say cleansing of forgiveness of one another's actions. And it's fitting that Rowan isn't giving her or allowing her to have the opportunity of a full bath yet. He has not forgiven her. He's not going to let her forgive herself, and she doesn't want to forgive herself. And I also want to look into the fact that He is also the one clothing her, which kind of is offering a fresh start, but I think it's meant to kind of show a fresh start of Celaena going in as Evelyn, represent her as Alentia. Maybe that's what I was trying to say. It's not a fresh start with them, but rather it's a representation for Celaena as a fresh start as Alentia, which we're about to see.
That's an interesting thought because Rowan also wears that same kind of off-white garb that he provides to her. And I wonder if it's not only Celaena starting afresh as Alentia, but also the both of them needing their slates wiped clean.
Yeah.
They both need a fresh start.
Yep.
So Celaena's not okay. She hasn't even left her bedroom yet, and her depression and her grief is weighing pretty heavily on her. Quote, "The pain in her chest sharpened enough that breathing became difficult. She stood there for a moment, pushing back against it, letting it sink into the fog that smothered her soul. Our girl's not okay, and it's important that we remember this heaviness that she's carrying around with her because that's her motivation. She is trying to escape the heaviness that she feels, and that informs all of her actions right now."
Mm-hmm. Fog, the cousin of mist, smothering her soul. Celaena looks at herself in the mirror and she sees, quote, that she'd lost weight, enough so that her face looked about as hollow as she felt. Even her hair had become rather dull and limp. This is kind of mimicking of when Chaol found Celaena, right? Even the basic clothing, bathing, and the fact that like Rowan beat her up physically and then Chaol kind of beat her up emotionally. There's a lot of similarities here. But what I find to be very interesting is the fact that Celaena chose this one. This isn't like when Chaol found Celaena and she was a slave for a year. Celaena chose to go on a bender for 2 weeks. Celaena chose to stop eating. She could have been at peak physical readiness. Celaena allowed herself to get to this point, and it was absolutely a choice and maybe even the first time she's ever done something like this in her life.
Yes. I will also say, though, she wouldn't be in a situation like this if not for Chaol sending her here.
Yeah.
She could have acted this way back in Rifthold. We'll never know.
Mm-hmm.
Celaena definitely has agency and she chose poorly.
Yeah. It was just an interesting parallel between this moment and Chaol. And, you know, I think there's going to be a lot of comparisons between Rowan and Chaol going forward. And
that's fair.
With this, I think it's kind of shows a start that with Rowan, there's more of a choice. And I can't say something because that's not in this book.
Save it for the breadcrumbs.
We'll see if I remember.
Yeah. So everything here, especially when it comes to the cold, like Celaena's physically very, very cold. It feels really sinister. She just can't get warm.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to read this quote out because I think it's benign. It seems benign, but I actually think it's kind of metaphorical. Quote, "The great brick oven and hearth were blazing, chasing away the morning mist that slithered in from the trees." So this cold, this morning mist, we see how that environment is being warded away by the flame and the fire, which is positive. It's warming, it's chasing away the cold. However, if we think about Celaena herself, Celaena would rather be cold than access her power. Mm-hmm. She doesn't trust herself enough to use her power, not even to warm herself up. But she's in this catch-22. She needs to access her power in order to get the information she needs from Maeve. And so what we see in this environment is the future that maybe Celaena wishes for herself, but she is not physically able to access that right now. It's just a very interesting play of metaphor with the environment and Celaena's internal turmoil right now.
Agreed.
Celaena meets Emrys and Luca, and when she's introduced, she uses the name Alentia as her given name. Quote, "Thank the gods Rowan didn't snort at the name. She might have eviscerated him, or tried to at least, if he mocked the name Nehemia had given her." Nehemia. There's a lot of violence still left in Celaena. Whether or not it's justified, she is very protective of Nehemia's memory. And I will argue, Celaena makes Nehemia the angel to Celaena's inner monster. Because at the end of the day, Celaena is a monster to herself.
Yeah.
And she puts Nehemia on a pedestal to be her opposite and to say, oh, that is what I should be, not this monster that I am. Which I think she's got it reversed, but okay.
I agree. It's rough. There's so many layers with her choosing Alentia, the name that Nehemia gave her. I think that I like to look at it not just as like trying to honor the vow and promise I made to Nehemia, but rather Nehemia aggressively called her a coward. And Alentia, you can almost equate that as being a coward's name in many ways because it's so associated with Nehemia. And it plays into her thinking, quote, let Rowan think she was spoiled and selfish, right? Again, and it's not just Alentia. It's like Alentia represents everything that Nehemia thinks of her, which is very negative, very poorly of Celaena. So it's kind of like, well, let's keep it going.
Yep. Rowan finally goes away and says, do your duties. I'll come back for you later, and then we'll train. And Celaena actually really enjoys it. Quote, in the kitchen chopping vegetables and washing pans, she was absolutely gloriously nobody. This is probably the one thing Celaena has wanted for 10 years, is to be nobody. And for the first time in her life, she can truly be nobody. But what she fails to realize is that being nobody doesn't solve her problems, because anything that is kind or pitying still sets Celaena off. And if she were happy with being nobody, she wouldn't be reactionary the way she is. We'll see this series of things happen with Emrys and Luca in the kitchen. I think when she's talking about Luca, Celaena thinks, quote, he said it with enough humor and kindness that it chafed. What would they do if they knew about the blood she'd spilled, how she'd tortured Grave and taken him apart piece by piece, the way she gutted Archer in that sewer, the way she'd failed her friend, failed a lot of people? I find this interesting because maybe for the first time we see a modicum of guilt over what Celaena did to Grave and Archer. And if not guilt, then at least acknowledgement that like those acts have sullied her soul, that she does have sins to atone for. And this is all showing us how Celaena views herself, not only a failure, but a monster and not worthy of kindness or pity. This is especially poignant when she thinks of herself in comparison to Emrys and Luca, who she doesn't even know. They were, quote, uncorrupted by a wicked empire, by years of brutality and slavery and bloodshed. She could almost see the three souls in the kitchen lined up beside each other. Theirs bright and clear, hers a flickering black flame. Corrupt. Sullied. Here, we begin the motif of Celaena's inner flame in earnest. Celaena's going to refer to the flame inside her a lot.
Yeah.
Thanks to Nehemia saying, don't let that flame go out. Which I guess is better than, you're a coward. But anyway.
You're a coward and you need your fire. Contradicting statements.
Yeah, exactly. And before I turn it over to Jack, my last note, despite the warmth of the oven that chased away the cold, flame for Celaena has a negative connotation. It is corrupted and distorted.
Yep. There's a little snippet here where Luca is talking to Celaena and he says, quote, most of us were born to mortal mothers, with fathers unaware they sired us. I love that. I love this little tiny social statement that SJM is making. That men have the power to leave. Men have the power to not even know that they sired a child. How much of this is also implying that it was non-consensual, that it wasn't a fling that they kept having, that maybe it wasn't a one-night stand. Maybe it was something a lot more horrific. And Luca also tells her that they're not allowed to learn the old language until they get to enter Dornell, until they're proven worthy of getting into Dornell. And it emphasizes that knowledge is power and that knowledge and power are only for the worthy.
Which, quite frankly, makes Maeve just as controlling as the King of Aelin.
Yeah.
One thing to note in this chapter is that Celaena gets really stuck on this idea that she could not remember what it was like to be free. And this is something that really, really bothers her, and quite frankly, rightly so. She hasn't been free since she was 8 years old. She hasn't been free in almost 11 years. But it's only now that she's really starting to realize that. And I bring it up because it comes up a couple times in the chapter. I'm sure we'll come back to it eventually. Take a sip. We are now in chapter 12, and we learn a lot about the Iron Teeth Witches in this chapter and their way of life. We also learn a lot about the fierce loyalty Manon has to her 13. I really love, actually, the way Manon describes her cousin Asterin. Quote, though Manon was more than pleased to see that Asterin, beautiful, brash Asterin, had done most of the damage to the other witch, she still had to punish her second. The witches talk a lot about, like, not knowing what love is and not having affection or loyalty to anyone but, like, the clan.
Yeah.
It's so obvious from this, like, first sentence how much Manon loves Asterin. And later, after she's beaten Asterin up because she needed to be punished and Asterin's broken her nose, we get this little characterization, which, again, I love. Quote, Asterin was just insane enough to wear the broken nose like a badge of honor and would love her crooked nose for the rest of her not-so-immortal life. This is what SJM does well. You learn about a person in one sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And this is SJM kind of hitting her stride with her characters, maybe not her plot, but with her characters.
Yeah.
And I think that's what also makes Manon and the 13 so lovable, is because SJM just kind of really lets go and is free with it. And it's a very different approach to reading about our heroines in general.
Agreed. It's also female relationships.
Yes.
That's not bad. And it's funny because we get Selena with Nehemia being like, that's my best friend. And you're kind of like, babe, that is toxic as fuck. And then you have Manon that's like, I don't have any friends. And it's like, here are my 13, though, that I'm super tight with.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's why Manon saves this book, really, is because SJM's actually doing the work to establish these characters.
It gives us the female connection that I personally have been craving and feel like Nehemia only hindered it.
Yeah, I completely agree. We get another reference to Manon being a weapon, which again reminds me of Selena. Selena actually, by the end of this episode, will also call herself a weapon. So, to further Jac's point that Manon and Selena mirror each other, quote, Manon treated her body as she would any other weapon. She kept it clean and honed and ready at any time to defend and destroy.
Which is perfect because this is the opposite of what Selena's doing. And she was admiring how she let her weapon get very limp and tarnished. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What I like about this moment is that because we've read the first 2 books in the series, even though Manon doesn't have a lot of context, we as the reader get enough information through Manon to deduce what's going on, which I think is clever writing. Quote, but even her training couldn't keep her from being out of breath when she reached the atrium by the Black Bridge that connected the Omega to the Northern Fang. Manon hated the expansive stone without even touching it. It smelled wrong. It smelled like those 2 prisoners she'd seen with the Duke. In fact, this whole place reeked like that. The scent wasn't natural. It didn't belong in this world. It's great because we, as the reader, have enough information to deduce that the Black Bridge and the stone around them is the same substance as the clock tower at the Glass Castle. The Duke is Duke Parrington, and as we said, the prisoners are Cal, Tane, and Roland.
That's how I feel about every time I smell cotton candy perfume. It's not natural, not of this world.
I agree. It makes me think of the early 2000s.
Just get it away from me.
Yeah.
As all the witches are walking, Manon starts to point out the various outfits that the matrons are wearing. So you have, quote, traditional deep blue robes and bands of iron stars on the brow, as well as another matron wearing, quote, a worn leather band rested on her brow in lieu of iron star crown. So you really get this understanding that there's this emphasis on how they look, right? There's iron star crown, like there's no crown, but there's a lot of stars on there. And the other one has like a leather band on her brow. And like she looks at these outfits without any envy. And I note that because, quote, she wiped her runny nose on the shoulder of her red cloak. She'd seen the other coven leaders eyeing the crimson material, as they always did, with yearning and scorn and envy. Iskra had gazed at it the longest, sneering. There's a lot of meaning with the red cloak. You know, it is the least you do not hide with the red cloak. It is, I am out in the open. You can spot me. And it also is fun to see her wiping her nose on it. The fact that she's brazen and she doesn't care but it's not disrespectful. That's the fun thing, right? Like,
right.
Like it's just so part of her.
Yeah. It's a trophy that has now become part of her. And everyone views it as a trophy they want. And she just views it as, this is equivalent to me wiping my nose on my arm, ladies.
Yeah. At one point, the handler also calls them ladies and he cringes. And I just think it's funny because you can have scary soldier men and you could say gentlemen and it would be okay. But you don't really have an equivalent for ladies. And he uses ladies a couple times or he just says lady. And it's funny and it's an interesting use of title. And even though he cringes, none of the witches cringe with it. They kind of are like, ooh, you're uncomfortable. I love it.
Love it. We continue to get a baseline of the Iron Teeth clan witches, especially with the Black Beak clan. It's important because it means something when we see later that Manon has little defiances. What we're establishing here with the witches is going to have a lot more meaning in the context of Manon's character arc throughout the series, but we have to get the baseline now because we're just learning about her and the witches. Quote, obedience, discipline, and brutality were the most beloved words in the Black Beak clan. All else was to be extinguished without second thought. I don't think we get a lot of obedience, discipline, and brutality from Manon, even though, I'm convinced that is what she'll do. She's killed men with joy.
Yeah.
But very quickly, she is going to defy that, and that's important for us to know now that this is the expectation. The witches see their first wyvern, and it is love at first sight for Manon because she sees power. Quote, she'd suffer no creature to be her mount but the fiercest, the one whose blackness called to her own. As her eyes met with the endless dark of Titus's, she smiled at the wyvern. She could have sworn he smiled back.
No, you're wrong, Manon.
I forgot that. When I reread this, I forgot that she does not end up with Titus.
Yeah. What? You forgot?
I forgot.
You forgot her buddy. You forgot Toothless.
Oh, Abraxa. It is.
You're a horrible person. You forgot Toothless.
I remember the love, but I didn't remember.
Okay.
I'm taking a sip. We're now in chapter 13. I am trying to power it through so we can get to more of our breadcrumbs and broomsticks. So bear with us, ladies. No. So bear with us, folks, because we've got James.
No, yeah.
We've got Patrick.
There's a Tyler.
Tyler's our editor.
No. There's another one.
Oh.
He responded you posted something on Instagram yesterday. Did you ever go back and review it?
I need to.
Taylor.
It's Taylor.
Yeah. We have many messages that you need to go back and.
Yeah, I do.
Actually, it's 3, but.
I'll go back.
We have men.
We do have men. Optimism. We get clues about what's going on with Rowan in chapter 13, mostly in the way that he treats Selena, if punching her wasn't already a clue. From Selena's perspective, she notices something off when Rowan retrieves her from the kitchen. Quote, Rowan was leaning against the archway of the stairwell, arms crossed and violence beckoning in his lifeless eyes. Lifeless eyes. This is not the last time she's going to see that lifelessness about him. She sees it again when they get to the training grounds. Quote, he was armed to the teeth, his face a mask of unyielding brutality. She made herself give a little smile, her best attempt at a dutiful, eager expression. Do your worst. Wipe that smarmy, lying smile off your face. His voice was as dead as his eyes, but it had a razor-sharp bite behind it. At this point, as a reader, we should be cluing into the fact that as much as Selena is off, Rowan is just as off, even if we don't know him that well. Why is this guy lifeless?
I don't have an answer, but I do have this. Mist. I would like to point out that as they're walking out, quote, the highest reaches of the forest still clouded in mist.
I think it's a great call out because it is metaphorical for what's going on inside of Selena.
I'm convinced there's more and I'll figure it out. Let me cook. We'll see. I might need the whole season too.
We see from the interactions between Rowan and Selena how Rowan has no respect for Selena. Again, if punching her wasn't enough of a clue already. He tells her to, quote, shut her smartass mouth. His physical interactions with her are threatening. Quote, he brought his canine so close to her neck that one movement would have had him ripping out her throat. There's a lot of threats of ripping out her throat. This is like the third or fourth time in this episode. And then Rowan decides to tell her exactly what he thinks of her. Quote, I think you have no control over yourself, no control and no discipline, not the kind that counts deep down. You are a child. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
She is a child.
Yeah, we agree. We agree. She is a child.
You are a child and a spoiled one at that. And you're a coward who has run for 10 years while innocent people were burned and butchered. From the age of 8 years old to the age of 18, she ran while innocent people burned and were butchered. This is the clincher, though. Rowan hates Celaena for the same reason Celaena hates herself.
Yeah.
And neither of them have the clarity of mind to understand that she was 8 years old.
What drives me so insane about this is, one, the whole, like, for 10 years, again, from when she was 8, when are we going to say, oh, you should have started trying? Honestly, I think the fact that she's starting to not even try. I mean, she's on the path, whether she wants to admit it or not, but she's on a path at 19 is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
How about the fact that he's calling her spoiled brat? I really struggle with that on a writing perspective because SJM has done nothing to give Rowan that impression of her. It's not like he saw her having a vacation on the rooftop. Right. He saw her spiral on the rooftop. You cannot tell me that he viewed that and was like, this spoiled brat who is drunk all day long and is withering away by the days.
Yeah.
You know,
there isn't anything wrong with her.
It's just really lacking on support of me believing what he has to say and what he believes.
Yeah. And this ultimately comes down to SJM's writing.
Yeah.
This is an example of the author forcing the plot instead of the characters revealing the plot.
That sounds like the question of the week. Of this episode. So let's keep going. We don't want to.
Oh, yeah. Let's keep going.
Answer that later.
Keep going. By the way, am I the only one that feels like this interaction is a little bit dominating / sexually charged when they start fighting?
Yeah.
Right before they start fighting, Rowan says to Celaena, quote, shut your smartass mouth and shift. A shuddering rush went through her, a spear of lightning in the abyss. Sounds like she was turned on.
Yeah, we're about to support everyone who stands them together. Because they're like, there's so much chemistry. Because you and I were like, there's not much chemistry. SJM is doing the work to put in the chemistry there of showing that charge.
Yes. Like, I had to read it and I'm like, is she trying to make this sexually charged? I don't feel sexually charged by this.
I mean, I think what's interesting is that SJM puts in all of, and this will go into the end of the week question, but I'll forget this, but SJM puts all the right words and phrases. And she does it again next week when we talk about when he bites her and he's like, you don't bite another man's woman. And it's like, you don't say that if you're not going to have some kind of like charged moment. Yeah. But do we believe it? Stick around.
I don't.
Okay. Or don't stick around.
Stick around. Stick around. Quote, Rowan pounced with fluid ease, his powerful thighs digging into her ribs as he straddled her. And he was now sitting on her chest. She laughed again, strangled by his weight. I'm just saying, SJM tries. That's all.
Yeah, I'll be curious when we start talking about it because it's like, what more do we want? Like, what is it that you and I are looking for, right? Because it's like, she's doing all the things right.
I think it's because so much of this has been forced up until this point. There's another random Nehemia droplet in what's going on here. Quote, for Nehemia, she had to try, but when she reached in toward the place in her chest where that monster dwelled, she found only cobwebs and ashes. I don't believe it. Just because you repeat it doesn't mean I believe it.
Agreed.
Moving on. We're almost done, folks. Here's the moment I was alluding to earlier that ties back to Manon when Rowan and Celaena continue to spar. He's baiting her. And, quote, the flash of temper snapped her out of it long enough to say, my bare hands are weapon enough. He just gave a taunting grin and sauntered into the maze of hills. It's a parallel to Manon.
Yeah.
So at this point, Rowan's like, well, if you can get through your fear and walk through this area of barrows with whites in them, which is demons, essentially. Scary, scary, vicious demons. He's like, then I'll take you to Dornell tomorrow. And she's like, fine, I'll do it. But when she looks into the destroyed barrow, she sees, quote, there was only blackness within, ageless, breathing blackness. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears as the blackness reached for her. So for someone who feels dark and empty inside, which I just read, the dark really, really terrifies Selena. From a writing perspective, I get what SJM's doing because she's going to use the motif of the flame inside Selena so much that, you know, the flame combats the darkness, but Selena doesn't have a flame, so she's afraid of the dark. However, it's not driving for me, guys.
No. Let's keep going so that we can talk about how it's not driving.
And so just a quick reminder, our Breadcrumbs and Broomsticks segment, because it is spoilery, is now going to be in a separate episode this Thursday. That's where we'll discuss listener thoughts and interpretations of the text and our own little breadcrumbs that we found along the way. So let's dive into the question of the week.
Okay, give it to me.
What role does restraint play in Heir of Fire, both in Selena's suppressed power and in SJM's narrative pacing, and how does that tension drive the reader's anticipation? It's a very complex question. You're very smart.
I am so smart. Thank you. There's a lot of restraint happening on Selena's part, right? And there's also a lot of restraint that's not happening on her part. Like the way that she lashes out at Rowan, there's no restraint there. The way that she's not letting herself eat, not letting herself find power, that is restraint. Even though she can't bring herself to do those things, it's still a lot of restraint. And it's meant to have a lot of tension for the reader, right? It's meant to be like, she's so tense. She's like here on a hairpin trigger. She's holding back the truth. She doesn't want his pity, so she's holding everything back. All these things are happening, and I think we've just been hinting at it. It is so hard to believe this. This is a rushed Selena. We got that in episode 1 where you and I were like, we can get here, but it is such a disconnect from Crown of Midnight to Heir of Fire. Like, that's not our girl. Where did she go wrong? I think it was you or a reader that said there's no way Selena would have let Kale and Dorian's life be in danger like this to go off the rails here.
Yep.
Suddenly this memory of Nehemia like comes back into play and she's like, oh shit, you're right. I have an oath. Even the way she shows up to Maeve was weird, right? Like she goes 2 weeks avoiding it without even trying and is suddenly like, all right, it's time for my quest. It's time for Rowan to train me. That's restraint, right? Like there's a lot of restraint in all of this. So it is weird.
Yes, it is weird. And I think, like I alluded to earlier, I think this is why readers really struggle with the first 3 books. And they're always like, after Assassin's Blade, it's fine. Because there's so much that is inconsistent in Selena.
Yeah.
As well as in SJM's plot development. Like, yeah, we had problems with Nehemia, but for the most part, we enjoy the plot of Throne of Glass and Crown of Midnight.
Yeah.
There is something really lacking in Heir of Fire, and it is because I think this is an example, as I said earlier, of the fact that SJM is forcing a narrative that the characters don't agree with. The characters don't jive with this forced plot.
And it could if she did the work.
Right.
We could get here. All SJM wants is a training sequence with a hot guy that they end up building tension and he misunderstands her and she's not letting him in. And eventually she lets him in. But you can't make me believe a single thing of this when you're telling me that this... How old is Rowan? Can we do a quick check?
Yeah. I just had a thought. Is this her version of Pride and Prejudice?
Ew, I hope it's not.
But it has, like, the elements.
Okay. 3 centuries old. 3 centuries old, and it's so unfortunate that he can't do math. That he can't subtract 10 from 19. Actually, at that point, 10, 11, right? Honestly, this is a tragic story if you look at it, of a man who can't do basic math and can't hold back on his anger against women. It's so unfortunate. But yeah, like, it's just one of those things where I can see what you're saying about, like, Pride and Prejudice, where, you know, it's almost like her version of both, where they're both so caught up in their own feelings that they can't open up. And this is where it comes into a problem that this started as a YA book.
Mm-hmm.
Celaena was 18, very much 18 in the first book. Very much so in the second book, grown up, but in the second book. This is not the storyline and the expectations of a 19-year-old. And this is where the dynamic that she has with Rowan is starting off wrong and not okay because he can't do basic math. And yeah, it's just like there's such a disconnect. And I hope, I don't know, I was about to say I hope this is the last time we mention it and we're able to let it go as the, you know, book moves on, but I don't think that's in our nature. And why would you ask us to change? But I do think that this is something that, like, at a certain point we are going to have to accept, like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
We're going to have to pretend to be on board. But right now we're only on episode 2. We're only up to chapter 13. It starts off so rough while you have Manon who's starting off so strong.
Yeah. And honestly, I genuinely forgot Manon was in this book because of how poorly I think of the Celaena storyline.
Yeah.
I love Manon. Sarah's actually doing a really, really, really great job with Manon and the witches.
Wonderful. Yeah.
She just, with Celaena and Rowan, I feel like she's forcing a square peg into a round hole.
Agreed.
It doesn't work, and we're just going to have to accept it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's going to be our truth. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I had so much more to say, but it gets into spoiler territory, and so we are going to wait when we get into it on Thursday, which is funny because we're about to record it right now.
So let's wrap this one up.
Yep. Thanks for listening to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jac and Amy. Join us Thursday for our Breadcrumbs and Broomsticks discussion of today's chapters.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our forum at booktalkforbooktalk.com, and we might feature your feedback in a future mini episode or in a Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to booktalkforbooktalk.com. You can follow us on TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube at the handle at booktalkforbooktalk. And don't forget to join us by subscribing to the Subtext Society Journal.substack.com to get more insights into the romantasy and romance world.
Bye.
Every holiday season, I am always thrown off by how much money I have to spend, and every holiday season, I really wish I had better saving habits, which I should have learned early.
Acorns Early is the money app and debit card that makes it easy to grow kids' smart money habits. Do for your kids what our parents didn't do for us.
Why didn't they have apps available in the 90s?
Acorns Early lets kids learn by doing. They can earn money with the in-app chores tracker, practice real-life budgeting with automatic allowances, and even set their own savings goals.
I love this because it's not just a card, it's their card with over 35 customized designs to choose from. Plus, kids feel the impact of their spending choices, sparking independence and confidence with every swipe.
And parents get peace of mind too. You don't have to worry about your kid asking for money every time you go out. Now they're going to manage their money. You can set spending limits, send money when you need to, get notifications, and step in if the card is ever lost.
This is such an important thing to learn so early on. Ready to join over 1.2 million parents and kids who've unlocked their kids' potential with Acorns Early?
Get your first month on us when you head to acornsearly.com/booktalk or download the Acorns Early app.
That's 1 month free when you sign up at acornsearly.com/booktalk. BOOKTALK.
Acorns Early Card is issued by NBKC Bank. Member FDIC, pursuant to license by Visa USA. Free trial for new subscribers only. Subscription fee starting from $5 per month unless canceled. Terms apply at acorns.com/early terms. The thing about Los Angeles fall is I need a sweater in the morning. And because I go to work every day, it needs to be stylish.
And Quince has got your back, Amy, because they are able to provide those sweaters and outerwear and everyday essentials that help you feel luxurious, but it's also timeless. And you are a sucker for timeless fashion.
100%. If I invest my money, I don't want to have to spend it again for a long time. That's why I buy their $50 Mongolian cashmere sweaters, because they're made not only for the workday, but the everyday.
Honestly, I've been eyeing Quince's Italian wool coats, and I've never had a wool coat. But I think it's time. I think I'm ready to upgrade my life to a wool coat. And it's great because with Quince, the cut feels designer and the quality really rivals high-end brands, but without that insane markup.
That's because they work directly with ethical, top-tier factories, and they skip the middleman to offer prices 50% less than similar brands.
One of my all-time favorite sweaters that I got last year was their boyfriend fit sweater. I keep that in my car because that is my, oh no, I forgot to bring something, favorite sweater that I know I'm going to look good and works with every outfit.
So step into the holiday season with layers made to feel good, look polished, and last from Quince.
Perfect for gifting or keeping for yourself. Go to quince.com/booktalk for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. And they're now available in Canada.
That's QUINCE.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK, to get free shipping and 365-day returns.
Quince.com/booktalk. I have been looking for a multivitamin for a really long time, and Ritual has actually always been on my list to check out. And I am so happy that we are partnering with them today because Ritual's essential multis have the nutrients most of us don't get from our food, and all in their clean, absorbable forms.
They're super heavily researched, and there's no shady additives or ingredients that do more harm to your body, which is exactly what I need because I already do enough harm to my body.
And I'm right there with you. I use the Ritual Essential for Women 18+, but I also really love their daily protein because getting protein is a full-time job, and Ritual helps me.
I've been loving their Symbiotic Plus gut health because, as all of you know, my gut hates me. It gives you the necessary prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics for a healthy system.
Their Essential for Women 18+ multi contains 9 key nutrients in 2 delayed release capsules designed for optimal absorption per day.
Ritual's multivitamins are vegan, non-GMO, project verified, gluten, and made allergen-free. And even if you don't think you need those things, trust me, you need those things.
Instead of striving for perfect health, aim for supporting foundational health.
Get 25% off your first month only at ritual.com/booktalk.
Start Ritual or add Essential for Women 18+ to your subscription today. That's ritual.com/booktalk, BOOKTALK for 25% off.